So this video is going to be a quick introduction to a group of plants called gymnosperms. Gymnosperm, if you look at the roots of that word, literally means naked seeds. As you can see in the picture, it's a pine cone with the seeds, which sort of look like they've got like a tail on the end of them. That allows the seeds to sort of float in the air as they fall out of the cone so they can float away from the parent. But the reason why they're called naked seed is because instead of a flowering plant, which has the seed enclosed in some sort of fruit, these seeds are basically just sitting unenclosed on the cone itself. There's a few different types of gymnosperms. One is called Cycads. And actually in the United States, we have only one native species of cycad that's called coontie. So you can find that only in Georgia and Florida. So not common throughout, our entire country. And it's one of the more primitive plants. Ginkgos are another group of gymnosperms. And of course, we don't have any native ginkgos in the United States, but you probably are familiar with it from supplements like ginkgo biloba. But the plants that we do have lots of are in the conifer group. So those are things like cedars, cypress, pine trees, junipers. And what we'll be doing after this video is spending a few weeks looking at some of our gymnosperms and learning to identify them. The gymnosperms have separate male and female cones on the same plant. So for a pine tree, what that means is often the male cones, if you find in the springtime these little sort of wormy looking things, squiggly wormy looking things on the ground that are yellow and purple, those are the male cones. They only last for a few weeks while they're producing pollen. The male cones will be below the female cones, which are what we think of as sort of like this dark brown typical pine cone. And that prevents self-pollination. So they're wind pollinated. The wind will come, pick up the pollen from the male cones, float it upwards towards cones on, or the female cones on a different tree. That's also why we tend to have a lot of allergy issues with these plants, because a plant that's wind pollinated, you have to produce a ton of pollen to ensure that some of it gets to the right place.